Hey everyone, so this is going to be a recording of me talking through a PowerPoint that gives a description of how to do APA formatting, and this is going to be the format that you will use for your research paper. The link for this presentation that I'm going to be talking through is also going to be included within your folder for APA, so you can go back and you can look at it at your own time, but this is going to be just talking through it a bit. All right. So first off, this is what your APA manual looks like. Now, you do not need to purchase the APA manual yourself, but this is a great resource for you to have, particularly if you still have another year or so within your program. It's really easy to flip around and look at. Okay, so just considering the general format of your paper. First off, your paper is always going to be double spaced with everything. You are also going to need to remove your spacing after paragraphs. So when you are in Microsoft Word, that's one of the tools that's up at the top. You can add a space after or before a paragraph or remove that spacing. So you need to remove it. That means that whenever you're typing your paper, you shouldn't be able to tell that there's extra space between the end of a paragraph and the beginning of a new one. You are going to have 1-inch margins all the way around. You also need to have a page header. So your header is going to be flush left, so all the way on the left with all caps, and it's going to be a shortened title of your paper. And then your page number is going to be flush right. Now, you don't have to write all this down. I'm going to show you an example of what it looks like. You also need to make sure that you have 12-point font. New Times Roman is the easiest to read, and that is what I would recommend that you use. Do not use Comic Sans. New Times Roman, the Calibri, I think is how you say it. I don't know, it's like C-A-L something. You can do that too, but it is more narrow. I would just go with New Times Roman. The title page of your paper. So that's going to be the very first page that you have. It should contain the title of your paper, your name as the author, and the name of the institution. So for us, it would be University of Central Missouri. It should also include the course number and name, the instructor name, and the assignment due date if you are writing a student paper. So this is an example of a title page. So this is a paper that I wrote for my something for literature review. You can see up at the top says running head at the top, and literature review is in all caps, and the page number is flush right. So the title of my paper, literature review, male elementary teachers, my name, university name, and the date. All right, so this is an example of an introduction, or you might call this the purpose of your study for your action research. So this is going to give you or give your audience the reason for your study and also themes that are introduced. So this particular paper is a literature review for my dissertation that I did. And so I start off with the problem. The number of male elementary and early childhood teachers is problematic in the United States and internationally. And then I have my in-text citation in it. Now, at this point, I'm going to pause. I do address this later in the PowerPoint, but you are not an expert in your writing, okay? You're just not. You're not considered an expert until you have done specific research at an institution. So like now I have written a research paper which has been published about male elementary teachers. So at this point, I would be considered an expert because I have done my own research and I have published my research. However, I was not an expert at the time. So anything that I'm saying in here has to be cited by other researchers. So every single sentence that's here has a citation, because if I don't have a sentence with a citation, then that's like it's me saying it and I'm not the expert. So you can see here that in this first sentence that I have the European Institute for Gender Equality, 2016, which is the date of publication, and the National Center for Educational Statistics 2020. Those are the two citations that I use to show that and to cite that the number of male elementary teachers is problematic in the United States. My next sentence is that female teachers disproportionately represent the elementary and early childhood fields. With the statistics with it, you can see that I have my citation. So here within my introduction, I basically go through and I state what the problem is, And then I also go through the different themes that I will be addressing within my review of literature. So within a review of literature or a literature review, typically the way it's organized is you organize it by theme. So within my paper, my first theme was that there is a need for male teachers. Okay, so that was what theme 1 was. And then I pulled in lots of different research about why there is a need for male teachers. And then I had subcategories. For you, depending on what your research is, your action research may be about how your students have low phonemic awareness ability within your classroom. So then your literature review would need to look at, number 1, what is phonemic awareness? And number 2, why is phonemic awareness important as a foundational skill? And probably even number 3, what can be done to increase phonemic awareness skills? So as you look at your problem, think about the things that you need to explore to know more about your problem within your classroom. And those are going to be the themes that you explore within your literature review. Thinking about your citation. So I know several people had questions about citations. So when do you do a citation? You do it all the time. Again, you're not the expert. So anything that you say, particularly within your literature review, you need to cite that. Now, when you get into your methodology, you do not need to cite that because that's stuff that you are doing within your own classroom. You also need to make sure that within your literature review, that you are using past tense. This is all research. That's my dog. This is all research that has been done in the past. So you need to make sure that you use past tense. By the same token, when you are writing up your action research, this will have already happened. So again, you're going to use past tense. Often people will use the word felt, like, oh, the participants felt this way. You don't know they felt that way. You don't know the researchers felt this way if you're citing it. You need to have observable words. The researchers stated, the students demonstrated. In text citations, we're going to do some examples of that, and then synthesizing multiple authors and resources. We're going to get into that a little bit more. All right, so let's look at this paragraph and how this is cited. So here at the end, you can see that I have cited it in several different ways. So for the first example, this sentence says, despite the low salary, pre-service teachers in Switzerland noted the high demand for teachers and job security as a reason for studying to become a teacher. And this was done by Bouchard et al., 2013. Now, Bouchard was the first author that was cited in this research. When you have 3 or more researchers that have written a paper, you have the first researcher's name, followed by et al. And a period, and then a comma, and 2013 is the year that the study was published. So that is one way to do an in-text citation. Another way to do an in-text citation is to do it in the middle of your sentence. A participant in Mulholland and Hanson's 2003 study shared he was encouraged by his father, blah, 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 blah. So instead of having the researchers' last names within the parentheses, it's part of my sentence, and then I put the year of the study in the parentheses. Here's another example. Johnston et al., 1999, also noted extrinsic factors. So there again, I have the researcher's last name, and we know that there are 3 or more authors in this study because it has et al., and then the year. At the end of this paragraph, you can see that it says Sanheim and Gelball. You use the ampersand if there are 2 authors for a study. So these are some different examples of how to do in-text citations. Here are a couple of other citations. Martino, 2008. That was just one researcher for this study. Malaby and Ramsey. There were 2 researchers in that study. So we have the Malaby, the ampersand, and Ramsey, 2011. Okay, so now we're going to think about how to synthesize multiple authors. So most of the time you are going to be able to find research that is pretty similar, where they're all saying the same kind of stuff. So when you do that, you are taking information from multiple researchers and you're synthesizing it, you're putting it all together. But when you do that, you still have to make sure that you are crediting those different researchers for where you got those ideas. So here's an example. Factors examined to explore the need for male teachers and their impact on young children included male teachers' ability to relate to males, male teachers as role models, and increasing diversity in staff. So those were 3 sub-themes that were cited within my paper. And then within the parentheses, these are the researchers that I pulled from. Cooney and Bittner, 2001. And then you can see how I've showed that that's one researcher or one research paper. Mills et al., 2004, and Santos and Amancio, 2019. So this is me synthesizing, taking information from 3 separate research papers. Okay, now sometimes you might use a direct quote from a paper. Now, I would not do that a lot because that's just a lot of direct quotes, but sometimes a direct quote from a paper is very important for you to have. So this is an example of a direct quote. Tucker, 2015, also found evidence of salary being a perceived barrier when one of their male participants stated, quote, "Our society values money and the American ideal of masculinity," end quote. And then you can see in the parentheses, it has the page number with the period and 14, and then the parentheses and the period. Here's another quote from Moss, Rasmussen, and Johnson. They pointed out that men appear to be uniquely vulnerable to being labeled as gay when they encounter backlash for stereotype violations, which could significantly impact their enthusiasm for counter-stereotypic occupations such as teaching. And this was on page 388. Now you'll notice in each of these citations, I have the authors, I have the year that it was published, and then I have the page number where that quote can be found. So you need to make sure if you're using a direct quote that you have all of those things. Quotes over 40 words will have a special type of formatting. I do not anticipate you having any quotes that would be over 40 words. So I don't think you need to worry about it. That's just something for you to know. So here are some differences between in-text citations versus the citations that you would have on your reference page. So Martino and Malaby and Ramsey are both cited in text within the same paragraph. So this is what it looks like in text: Martino, 2008, Malaby and Ramsey, 2011. If you look at my reference page entry though, you can see it on the reference page, we have a lot more information. We have both of the author's last name and their first initial. We still include the year that the study was published. The title of the article is not in italics, it's just typed out with lowercase letters. And then the name of the journal is here in italics, and you do capitalize the first letters. We have the volume, an issue, and the page numbers. Here's another one from Martino. You can again see the title of his article, the journal, the volume and issue, and the page numbers. Here's another one. The Ingersoll is one that I wanted to point out here. You can see where it is from a research report. So we have the title of the article and where it was found, the title of the website, CPRE research reports, and it was retrieved from this specific website. So the important thing on our reference page is that, number one, you want to make sure that everything that you are citing within your paper is cited correctly, and then you also want to have it fully in your reference page, because if people are looking at your paper, chances are they're probably studying the same thing that you are studying. So this gives them a good jump off to go and look for other research. This is what a reference page looks like. So you can see it says references at the top in bold. And then your references are all in there in alphabetical order by the first author's last name. So some useful resources. This does say that it was coming out in October, but that was like 3 years ago. And the Al Purdue Writing Lab website. That's another good place for you to go. One note that I do want to make to you, I mentioned that it's important to have your references in there correctly because other people might look at it. This is something that I would encourage you to do. You can really fall down a big old rabbit hole when you get onto online search engines. You have access to EBSCOhost through your UCM account with the library, and you can put in, a search term, and it'll pull up papers for you. And then I would really encourage you to go through, read that paper if it's something that you like, save it, download it, save it, but then look at their reference list because their reference list is also going to have additional research that's probably on that same topic. And if they're being cited in this researcher's paper, it's probably pretty good. So you can use that as a tool for you to dig into more things to help you. All right, so that is what I have on there. I will also be sharing so the information that I gave to you on here with those examples, those came from my dissertation. Obviously, male elementary teachers, it was writing a lot about that. I will share that paper with you so you can also see the citations in there and what it looks like and how the paper format goes. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Have a great day.